Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Exalted One, and the fully enlightened One. May the blessings of the Triple Gem be upon you all, friends in the Dhamma. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how the Buddha's omniscient power and the karma, especially the wholesome karma of the Buddha's life, came to give its due results. That is my topic. This is a very important topic for every one of us. During this time of listening to this Dhamma, based upon this mentioned topic, may your mind be not disturbed and obsessed by defilements, disturbed by thoughts. May your mind be full of faith and enthusiasm and energized by the noble virtues of the Buddha and Dhamma and Sangha. Listening to the Dhamma portion based upon this topic, may you all be able to develop faith, concentration, and clear wisdom in your mind. And ultimately, may you all be able to realize the Four Noble Truths and attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. That is my sincere and soul wish for every one of you. Today's Dhamma topic, as I mentioned to you, is very important. Kamma and Buddha's omniscient power. This is purely described under the topic and list of the 10 powers of the Tathagata, which means in Pali, Dasa Tathagata Bala. 10 powers of the Buddha. It's not just physical powers and energy, but mental energy, mental power, knowledge, wisdom power. Sometimes people cannot understand how the Buddha's wisdom power played its important role, and also how the Buddha just encountered and enjoyed the Buddha's own wholesome karmic good results in this very life. The Buddha appeared to the world as a glorious, prosperous, and as a noble saint. It was famous and spread all around the world at that time. Therefore, this differentiation should be understood. We should understand this difference, how that Buddha's knowledge and power and beauty came to play its role, and how the Buddha enjoyed his previous wholesome karmic results in this last birth. So the Buddha once, just before descending to the topic, we can see the ground for this topic. During the time of the Buddha, once the Buddha was living in Rajagaha, in the very peaceful, famous monastery and vihara devotedly offered to the Buddha and Sangha by the faithful king Bimbisara. So, when the Buddha was living there with monks, the next door, which means the next kingdom, because King Bimbisara ruled the kingdom of Magadha. The next door or next kingdom and state was the Vaisalis, Lichavi's kingdom. It was located on the other shore of the Ganges river. So, Lichavi kingdom at Vaisali was famous, prosperous, wealthy, and they had a lot of treasures. They were very healthy people. They enjoyed their life because it's a prosperous country. So at that time, the Buddha was living in Bimbisara's kingdom, that is Magadha. Then something unfortunate happened, as we have heard from Dhamma books and from the Dhamma talks. Something unfortunate, miserable happened to the Lichavians. It was not all of a sudden. It took some time. Firstly, it stopped raining, and also their crops, cultivation, everything was destroyed. Then they had a huge food shortage. Sometimes destitute poor people could not find a meal. It was horrible at that time. And they could not find food from other countries. It was not like today. So then the first one is a plague of disease and famine and also evil spirits. These three came in order. The first, they had a shortage of food. Because of that, they got sick. And in the same time, the spirits got closer to the kingdom because people died. It was like today, because coronavirus infected people died. I think you watched and you saw in YouTube and in news how people suffered, mainly in India and Italy and Spain and in Sri Lanka, and it was horrible in the recent time. How many hundreds of thousands of corpses were not buried but burned and cremated. So similar thing happened in that time in Vishala. Because of that corpse smell, the evil spirits, bhutas, got to that cities and villages, and also they just make people get sick. You see, within a few days, few weeks, a lot of people died. It was horrible. At that time, people got shocked and their minds and body and everything was shaken. Then people went to the kings and complained about the famine, about diseases, about the corpses, and also especially these three kinds of plagues. At that time, according to the Dhamma books, especially Vinaya and Sutras of the Buddha's teaching, it is like the Lichavians, they all were like this kind of social kind of ruling. There were 7,707 princes to govern the country. However, from time to time, 7 kings or princes are given a chance and a responsibility to govern the country. They should behave nicely, righteously, and people had some idea if the kings are not righteous and they don't behave in righteous way in accordance with the spirituality and Dhamma and the rules, then something bad and horrible may come to the kingdom and villages and cities to destroy the countrymen. That sort of huge concept they had. So the country people thought to themselves that these horrible plagues and famine and things have come due to the reason that our governors and princes and kings are not in the right path. So, having these thoughts to themselves, they went to the king and they complained. Then they also got frightened because the governing kings and the princes at that time, they got shocked that they are going to be criticized and accused by the countrymen. There was a congregation and there was a big meeting. So in that meeting, the ruling princes and the governors, they told, if you just find any mistake, any faults of ours in governing the country, and also there's a committee there, there's members of the board to check it, and they found no faults of the kings. So then at that time, there were very famous and well-known, reputed teachers. They are spiritual teachers, spiritual guides, like Niganthanatha Putta, Ajita Kambala. And also, the people were divided into 6 spiritual practices. Some people followed Niganthanatha's teaching, while others followed Ajita Kambala's guides. And another group followed someone else's. In this way, even though they live in one country, in one village, in one suburb, they divided in spiritual practices. So everyone was interested to take one of the teachers to bless the country and to regain the peace, because they are undergoing much suffering at that time. And those who are in favor of Nigantanatha, they just told the king, it would be good, we can go to invite Nigantanatha, Putta, the teacher, and also we can do some rituals in order to get rid of this famine and this evil spirits involvement and that kind of thing. They did everything what they could, but everything was failed. Then one of the Lichavins, he was called Mahali, and he was the friend of King Bimbisara. He suggested, King, this is my proposal. The Buddha appeared to the world. The Buddha Gautama is powerful. The Buddha Gautama possessed noble qualities, possessed virtues, noble virtues. The Buddha possessed spiritual powers and psychic abilities. Therefore, it would be good for us to invite the great Buddha, Supreme Buddha, to this kingdom. So then they immediately arranged a group of devoted people, followed Buddhism at that time, went to Magadha kingdom. So it was about 8 leagues, which means 8 yojanas from Vaisali to Rajagir, where the Buddha lived at that time. Buddha lived in Veluvana monastery in Rajagir. Some of our friends and also Dhamma devotees today have traveled to those places. Some of our Dhamma friends went to India and Rajagir and these places with me as well a few years ago. So the group of people just faithfully went to Rajagir, and first they met the King Bimbisara and declared and mentioned the disaster and also the horrific things they had in Lichavi kingdom. And also they just mentioned that they came from Lichavi kingdom to Magadha kingdom in order to invite the great Supreme Buddha to make a visit to Vaisali. So the king did not interrupt. He was happy, and also he asked the group of people from Lichavi to go to the Buddha in Veluvana monastery. After that, they went there. The Buddha's service ground to the world is compassion. The Buddha mentally standing on the compassionate ground, and the Buddha wisely serves the people, devas, human beings, Brahmas, and so on. Not only focusing on people and living beings in this world system, the Buddha traveled from time to time to other world systems as well, just to help them, because Buddha had such psychic abilities to travel in space and sky. So the Buddha received the invitation from these Lichavis, the Mahali and other people. So then the king arranged the tour for the Buddha. King Bimbisara had 5 leagues from Rajagir to Ganges, 5 leagues. And from Ganges to Vaisali, there were 3 leagues. That's how the road was there. So it was King Bimbisara's responsibility to arrange the road for the Buddha to travel from Rajagir to Vaisali. So King Bimbisara made country people clear the road and arrange the path. So it was a huge decoration. It was beautifully decorated. There was flowers, canopies, and also flags, banners, and umbrellas. Not only the Buddha traveled from Rajagir to Vaisali, there was a group of 500 monks there to follow the Buddha. And the king and country people arranged each and every monk one single umbrella and a shade and canopies. And also each league, the King Bimbisara arranged to build a huge resting place, because in one single day, the Buddha and the other venerable monks cannot travel from Rajagir to Vaisali on foot. Everything was set up. people went to see the decoration and also to see how beautifully the Buddha was traveling. Because Buddha walks like an elephant in a certain rhythmic way. People like to see it. I believe that any one of you today must have not seen such a walk of one single person. In my life, I have seen one monk in the forest tradition in Sri Lanka, very big monk. He was the only monk. He passed away a few years ago. He was the only monk I have ever seen who could walk in a certain rhythmic way. Like an elephant, he can walk smoothly, not in a hurry, but peaceful walk. Buddha's walk is 100% and 1000% better than that. So people went to see how Buddha walked and monks followed the Buddha. It was quite a splendor and huge decoration. So in few days' time, the Buddha traveled to the Ganges. And after the Ganges, the Ganga river, it was not the kingdom belonged to King Bimbisara. So the king also followed the Buddha and stopped there. Then the Licchavis welcomed the Buddha. And between the Licchavi kingdom and Magadha kingdom, the border is the Ganges, the Ganga river. So to cross the Ganga river, they arrange kind of ship-like decoration. We can say today like ferry types of things. So the Buddha and monks crossed the Ganges and the Lichavins got together and all Lichavins welcomed the Buddha. So the Buddha traveled from Magadha kingdom to the Vaisali kingdom, Lichavins kingdom. At the very moment when the Buddha stepped, the Buddha's foot was on the ground of the other shore. All of a sudden, it started to rain, huge thunder and a huge rain. It was flooded and all dead corpses and all impurities from the road flowed down to the rivers and the path was clear. For quite a long time they had this rain. It was marvelous. The people having seen this, they had much faith in the Buddha. However, gradually Buddha and Venerable Sangha traveled from the Ganges river to the Vaisali city. Then the Buddha advised Venerable Ananda, just learn the Ratana Sutta. Because Ratana Sutta has the quality of the Buddha, the Dhamma and Sangha. It does not speak anything historical and does not speak of any other worldly matters. The Ratana Sutta, that means Jewel Sutta, speaks only about the supreme noble qualities of the Buddha, supreme noble pure qualities of the Dhamma, and supreme pure qualities of the noble Sangha. Other than these three, there is nothing included in this sutta. So the Buddha determined its power to exist and to affect not only the human world, but to affect even in the Deva world. If you go to Deva world, the Chatur Maharajika and Tavatinsa, where the king of gods, the Sakka governs, and also further up, Yama, Tusita, and Nimmanrati, Paranimita Vasavati. And if you have gone to any divine world in this list, or Brahma world, if you chant this sutta, Jewel Sutta, Ratana Sutta, its power will hugely work for you. Not only that, you can travel out of this planet in whatever direction and determinedly just chant that, it will affect you. Such a strong power is included in the Ratana Sutta. Buddha determined such power to spread. So the Buddha advised Venerable Ananda to chant the Ratana Sutta in order to dispel the negative energy of evil spirits from the city and villages and suburbs. So for 7 consecutive days, Venerable Ananda and Venerable Sangha chanted this sutta and Buddha started. So continuously for 1 week, the Buddha and the Venerable monks chanted qualities of the Buddha, qualities of the Dhamma and Sangha. And then evil spirit could not bear, and they could not be with this powerful sutta and chant it. And also the Buddha's compassion, kindness, they could not stay there any longer. They just quickly disappeared for their protections because it was burning. The evil spirits had a kind of burning type of feeling when they heard these things, because they came to the city, and even though people could not see physically, because they caused people to die, and also they like corpses. They came to the city to harm people, animals, and human beings. So because of the Buddha's power, they could not stay there any longer. They quickly ran away and disappeared. And the Buddha continuously chanted this Jewel Sutta, Ratana Sutta, blessing all the citizens and Licchavians for their well-being and happiness and good health and protection. And also the Buddha advised Venerable Ananda to sprinkle water around the villages, around the city and places especially. As guided and advised by the Buddha, Venerable Ananda and Venerable other monks did so. After that, the country just turned to the positive atmosphere, good atmosphere, and it was changed. So having seen this change, having seen this bliss from the Buddha, the people and the countrymen, they were quite pleased and happy about the Buddha's visit to the country. Then after that, Buddha did not have any place to live there, because this was not formally arranged one. All of a sudden the Buddha got invitation from Licchavians. That is why Buddha made visit to this country with 500 monks. And the Buddha did not stay there any longer. After 7 days, Buddha turned back to travel back to Rajagir. The king Bimbisara was waiting for the Buddha to come back on the other shore of the Ganges river. And after a few days, the Buddha went back to the river Ganga, and crossed the river by ships. And again, King Bimbisara welcomed the Buddha and Venerable monks. It was not just traveling. And the Buddha was venerated, and Buddha was offered with flowers and perfumes and decorations. It was doubled. After seeing the beauty and power of the Buddha, and also the power of chanting, and because they were fortunate enough to receive such a blessing from the Buddha and the Sangha, so they became quite pleased and happy hugely. So they arranged double offering to the Buddha and Sangha when the Buddha turned back to travel to Rajagir. Not only from human beings this offering came to the Buddha and Sangha. They was also involved there. The Sakka, the king of gods, having seen how people got together and organized such a beautiful and huge decorations and respect to the Buddha, the Devas also just descended down to the earth, and also they arranged something else from their side. Having heard this news, Brahmas also came down. Even though the human beings could not see with their physical eye, other arahants and those who have psychic abilities and psychic powers, and the Buddha could see them. So the Sakka and divine beings and Brahmas all came down to offer huge respect with flowers and canopies and umbrellas, flags and everything to the Buddha. It was like a divine world, divine road just created on earth. Human beings could see that. Having seen this, they became amazed. They had such a huge, pleasurable thoughts and respect and veneration to the Buddha. So in due course, in few days' time, the Buddha went back to the Ganges. From there, the next 5 leagues, the Buddha traveled with other monks and went back to Rajagir and also the Buddha resided there in Velwana monastery. So the tour was over, and it was, I think, within 1 month, the Buddha and the monks traveled to Vaisali and spread the spiritual energy and spread the Dhamma power there. Not only that, because the Buddha planted the Dhamma seeds in Vaisali kingdom, and the people had faith. Not only that, Buddha taught Dhamma to those people. Some people understood and realized Dhamma as well. It was a huge gathering, the huge meeting. So something happened after the tour was over. Monks just gathered together in different places. It was in the Velwana monastery. They started to talk about the tour to Vaisali and how the Buddha was venerated and respected and offered with so many offerings, items, and dana and various things. How that king Shaka came down to respect the Buddha. How Brahmas appeared. In this way, so many beautiful and things happened and occurred in front of them. So monks start talking about these things. So the Buddha, having heard this, went to them. Monks also wanted to know from the Buddha. They talk about the Buddha's glorious glory, the Buddha's omniscient power, the Buddha's knowledge. They thought to themselves that it is due to the Buddha's noble power, noble quality, the Buddha happened to receive such things. That is what the monks, worldly monks, just talk about. First, the Buddha asked venerable monks. So then Buddha told monks, these offerings, these decorations, this huge respect with various kinds of decoration and things, it's not because of the Tathagata's power. It is not the kind of things. It is a wholesome result that the Bodhisattva performed good karma in his previous births. Because the Buddha received this much of respect, the divine and human respect, and all kind of things came to the Buddha because of his past karma. Not evil karma, it's a wholesome karma. Having heard these couple of words and phrases from the Buddha, the monks were curious to know what happened, to know what that karma Bodhisattva performed. You see, just as ordinary people, if we were to see these kind of things, we also tend to decide, okay, this is a Buddha's power. This is the omniscience power. This is the psychic ability. This is the psychic power of the Buddha and Arahants. That's how we turn to think. But the Buddha could just define it and clearly understand the difference between karmic results and the Buddha's omniscient power and psychic power. So Buddha wanted to define and clearly explain this is not because of the Tathagata's power, Tathagata's strength, Tathagata Bala. This is because of previous wholesome karmic energy. So the monks asked, Venerable Sir, what is the reason, what is that karma performed by the Bodhisattva in his previous birth to achieve such a blessing in this very life? So then the Buddha started just explaining and revealing the hidden past in front of them. Then the Buddha said, monks, it was something like this. In the Tathagatas, in my previous Parami ground, in Parami journey, in one birth, I was born as a human being and a Brahmin. In that birth, my name was Sankha. I was known as Sankha Brahmin. Brahmin Sankha. In that birth and existence, I had a son. I named him as Susima. And my son, Susima, grew up. When he was 14, 15, 16, the teenage, as a teenage, he was sent to Varanasi, that education center like universities today, to get educated. To father's village, it was far away from Varanasi. Varanasi is the very famous city for all products and businesses and various kind of happiness people can enjoy, and for educations as well. It's like Savatthi in the Buddha's time. Varanasi was famous. I think it was the only living city, historically living city. Even today we can find that. In Sri Lanka, we had Anuradhapura. That's a kingdom, that's a city. Polonnaru is also a famous city. These are dead cities. But Polonnaru, Anuradhapura, you see that Italy and Rome, they had a very famous city called Pompeii. It is gone. But you see, think of that city Varanasi. Varanasi is a historical city, historical kingdom, but is still alive, still functioning and working. So the Brahmin Sankha sent his only son to the city for education. He was very well known, he was very well intuitive and quick to understand and knowledgeable boy. Within short period of time, that boy, the Susima, the son of that Brahmin Sankha, got educated. The three Vedas are the topic. Three Vedas are subject. Ultimately, he went to the teacher, his master, the professor, and asked, "My teacher, I can see the beginning of these studies, beginning of Vedas are there, and my teacher taught me the beginning of these scriptures, beginning of these Vedas, and also how these Vedas are just functioning and existing now. That also my teacher taught me. But in this study, you did not teach me the ending part. Where can I find the finishing part, the ending part of this study?" Then the teacher told that, "Yes, my dear son, my dear pupil, this is exactly true. I also know only the beginning of these Vedas and also the present situations and the present condition of this study, and also the Vedas, how it works for the community and how people and also the teachers and students are just dealing with this subject. But I do not know the end of this study, end of this Vedas." So the boy was curious and wanting to know the end of this study, end of this subject, the end of this topic, end of these Vedas. At that time in the world, not the Buddha's time, the Buddha's period, there were private Buddhas appeared in the world. From time to time, the private Buddhas went down to villages for food. So the teacher told the boy, "My son, Susima, those private Buddhas, they are sages. They know the end of these subjects, the end of these Vedas. They are the only people, only person, only sages who can see and understand the end of this world, end of these Vedas, and end of everything." So the boy Susima wanted to know the end of this everything. Having had permission from the teacher, the Susima, the student, but his father was away. Father is living in his native village. It's far from Varanasi, Taksila, somewhere else. But this is happening in Varanasi, in the education center. So the teacher, the professor, sent this boy Susima to private Buddhas. So with the huge and great interest of learning the end of subject, the Susima, the boy, young boy, went to see private Buddhas. Having gone to them, paid respect, the Susima, the young boy, asked, Venerable Sir, do you know the end of this world, end of these studies, end of this subject, and end of everything? The private Buddhas told him, yes, we know that. We know the end of the world, end of everything. Then he invited the Buddhas. Then Venerable says, please teach me. I beg you, please teach me. The private Buddhas told him that, yes, you can learn. We teach you the end of the world, end of this subject, end of these Vedas, everything, if you change your life as we are. Change your lives, become monk. During that time, that monk's order was not there, because monk's order starts and begins into the world only during the Buddha's time. Once the Buddha appeared to the world, then only the Sangha appeared. Sangha comes to the world as disciples of the Buddha. But during the private Buddha's time, no Sangha order, only the private Buddhas just live as sages in the world. So just Pacceka Buddhas asked him to wear robes and also just hold the bowls in certain way that monks do. And also private Buddhas trained him to walk peacefully. So this change happened to that Susima, the boy, because of interest of education, because he wanted to learn the end of the world. He does not know any nirvana or anything, but he wanted to know and understand and realize the end of everything. Private Buddhas knew that end of everything. So after some time, it's not so long time, but within short period of time, when he was walking mindfully, talking mindfully, just doing everything mindfully, physical, verbal, then all of a sudden his parami energy came up to the surface to ripen and to give its results. And also he's a very fortunate and a huge power he had, and he became private Buddha as other venerable Pacceka Buddhas. So now this young boy is a private Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, young Pacceka Buddha. But his father still does not know what happened to his son, because father is still in the idea of my son was going to come back, because he promised, I get educated and come back. Father was waiting for his son to come back to his village. It didn't happen so. The father, Brahmin Sankar, having a curiosity, wanted to know what happened to his own son. So, to find and to see his son, the Brahmin Sankar traveled to Varanasi, to that city where that education center located. And on his way, he saw a group of people are there. Then the Brahmin Sankar went to that group of people. Something had happened there. So, what happened? This private Buddha Susima just became private Buddha, but his life was not so long. Within a short period of time after becoming private Buddha, he passed away. He died. He passed away into Nibbana. So the other private Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, got together and respectfully cremated his body, and also having relics from that pyre, and caused people to build a stupa in respect of that small private Buddha Susima. Even though physically he was a little and young boy and a young Pacceka Buddha, spiritually, in terms of the virtues and concentration and Dhamma, he was a great Pacceka Buddha. So the other private Buddhas and people of the city and village, they just got together and cremated the body, and having relics from the pyre, they built a Dagaba pagoda to keep the relics there and also to venerate. That is the time his father, the Brahmin Sankar, visited that place. He did not know what was going on. The Brahmin Sankar asked some of the people there, I am Brahmin Sankar, I am living in that village, I am traveling from far to see my only son. My son's name is Susima. He came here for education, and after he left home, I did not see him. I want to see him, that is why I have come. People didn't realize that, what happened. So then people said, oh, dear father, it's sad to say that the boy, the Susima, he was well versed and he became thoroughly educated. He studied everything from his teacher and school. After that, he wanted to learn the end of the world, end of everything. Then, with the purpose of learning that part, he became a monk. And after that, he was in the course of learning from private Buddhas. Ultimately, he became a private Buddha, the great sage. But unfortunately, even though he became a private Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, he realized the ending part of the world, but he passed away recently. We cremated his body and also we took his relics and we placed relic respectfully in this pagoda, the Dagaba, and this is where we just gather. So having heard these words from those people, the Brahmin Sankar became quite sad. He lamented, he cried and cried and cried for his own son. He was waiting for his son to go back to his born village. His father was waiting for him to come back. He was waiting for to welcome his only son. But something happened the other way. But the father happened to just leave his village and to go to Varanasi in search of his own son. But on the way, he heard something very sad. So having learned everything from people and also the private Buddhas and or the people, he thought to himself, my son is a sage. My son became a private Buddha, Pacceka Buddha. So I respect him. I pay my respect to my private Buddha, the Susima. Having that faithful thought, the Brahmin Sankar just took his upper garment, that Uttrusalu, and erected it as a flag to respect the private Buddha, the Pacceka Buddha Susima. Then he took some sands and scattered everywhere around the pagoda, the Dagaba. And he picked flowers in order to pay his respect to the son Pacceka Buddha. And in this way, he took some water and sprinkled there, and he just did so many things at that time to pay his respect and veneration and offering to the private Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, Susima. Then after that, having lamented and cried loudly and having offered all the flowers and things, having offered his own upper garment, the Uttrusalu, to the pagoda as a flag to respect it, the Brahmin Sankar went back to his village. So the Buddha, sitting in the seat peacefully, the Buddha taught these venerable monks, and the Buddha revealed his history. The Buddha revealed hidden part of his parami lives. One of the parami lives, not everything, a little bit. So the Buddha told those monks, I had all the venerations, the respect, offerings from devas, brahmas, and human beings, not because of the Buddha's, Tathagata's omniscient power. It's not because of the Buddha's extraordinary power, supreme power, and meditative power. It is not the Buddha's 10 Tathagata balas and the supernatural powers. This is the result of what the Bodhisattva practiced in his previous births. You see how clearly the Buddha described the separate qualities and features of the results of karma and Buddha's ability of showing psychic powers. Buddha never showed psychic things there. It is a psychic kind of thing came to the Buddha from his own good wholesome karma performed in one of his previous existences. Having described these things to the monks, Buddha clearly showed that monks, this is how we should perform good karma. And also here we should understand clearly the karmic practice. Karma you can practice in two different ways. One karmic practice is when you are going to perform wholesome kamma by way of offering dana to venerable monks or by observing sila and also practicing meditation on the basis of any topic, does not matter. But when you just perform wholesome things, just watch your mind. In what way? Watch your mind to understand what is the reason for you to perform and practice these wholesome things. Are you going to enjoy its results in samsara, or are you just trying to get rid of samsara? You see the difference between these two, you have to understand. If you just perform and practice good wholesome things to enjoy its results in future births, it is called Vattagami karma. Vattagami karma. Vattagami means you want to travel along the samsara, and also meanwhile you want to enjoy its results. That is a Vattagami. And karma performed for enjoying and traveling, to travel around the world, to travel in samsara. Vattagami karma. The second one is you can perform, you can practice good deeds and dana and observe sila, practice meditation, just go to sacred places, pay your respect, venerate venerable monks, perform good karma. And also just have a determination and resolve that you want to get out of this samsaric journey. And also each and every time when you perform good karma, wholesome karma, you have to make an aspiration. You should make a strong aspiration to realize the Four Noble Truths and get out of this samsaric journey and attain Nibbana. Attaining Nibbana means you get out of this traveling in samsara. This is called Vivattagami karma. Vattagami and Vivattagami. You just practice karma to travel in samsara. You may practice karma to get out of this samsara. So two different things. The Bodhisattva paid his respect to that pagoda of Venerable Pacceka Buddha Susima, and also the Bodhisattva's only aim, only target, only purpose of performing these kind of good wholesome thing is to realize the Four Noble Truths and to attain the omniscient Buddhahood and omniscient knowledge and supreme knowledge, to realize the world, how this world system functions and rotates, and also how this world exists, how it changes. So that is what the Buddha wanted to realize as Bodhisattva. And also Buddha practiced generosity in that way, and also just observe Sila in supreme way, and left and practice abandonment, that means giving up things, renunciation in excellent way. So the Buddha energized his life in various ways. We call it parami practice. Ultimately, Buddha achieved everything. Buddha gained, Buddha achieved everything what he wished for in his previous existences. And also see how fortunate the Buddha was. How was that blessing the Buddha had from various divine beings, Brahmas and kings, and also the country people. The Buddha showing his good fortune to other people. The Buddha traveled from Rajagir to Vaisali to just create a peaceful environment of Lichavi kingdom to enjoy them. That is why later, the lot of people started turning towards the Buddha, listen to the Buddha Dhamma, and also they realized Four Noble Truths. There were so many Aryans in Lichavi kingdoms. Ambapali is one of the devoted people in that kingdom. And also later, Lichavi people, Lichavians, the princes, in respect to the Buddha, they created huge stupa and also vihara to the Buddha and Sangha. It is called Kutagara. Kutagara Vihara. That was built in Lichavi's kingdom, Vaisali. And you see the difference between the wholesome results of good karma performed by the Bodhisattva in his previous existences and also the Buddha's power. You see, the Buddha received that much of respect when he was traveling to Lichavi kingdom. On the other hand, you see how it was when the Buddha traveled to Sakyan kingdom. It's a far way. The Buddha had to travel further up, north, to reach his born village. But what happened there? It was not a famine, and also it was not a plague. The Buddha was invited by King Suddhodana, messenger, the Kaludai, the minister, was sent to the Buddha to invite the Buddha to make a visit to Sakyan kingdom. But ultimately, the Buddha did that. But what happened? The Buddha's own relatives, Sakyans, they were quite arrogant. They were quite egoistic, arrogant, proud. They did not go to pay their respect to the Buddha. Such a strong ego they had. So that is why the Buddha happened to show the psychic powers, display psychic things in order to just destroy their egoism, their pride, their arrogance, their conceit. You see how it is different. You see how the Buddha played his psychic abilities with Buddha Anubhava. But here it is quite different. The Buddha gained everything from his own good karma. That is why I just chose this topic today to talk about the karma and Buddha's psychic ability. I believe that you must have gained something important from this description, from the Buddha's life, and also from the journey, the Buddha's tour from Rajagir to Vaisali. Even today we chant the Jewel Sutta to have a protection and safeguard and also a blessing, as a huge blessing for every one of us. So now I, as advised, instructed by the Buddha, I just think of the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Beauty of the Dhamma, beauty of the Sangha, beauty of the good qualities of the Buddha, and power of the good qualities of the Buddha, power of the noble qualities of the Dhamma and Sangha, and also the inexplainable energy that comes from the Jewel Sutta, Ratana Sutta. I wish you all the best. Protection, safeguard, good health, and also peaceful mind, and also positive energy, wholesome energy to understand this Dhamma, and also practice Dhamma in your life, and also to just get rid of whole lot of demeritorious thoughts and unwholesome thoughts from your life. Meanwhile, purifying your thoughts, understanding Dhamma in your life, as described and explained by the Buddha. Finally, deeply understand the Four Noble Truths, clearly understand the natural Dharma, and also the Lokottara Dharma. Ultimately, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. May you attain Nibbana. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sukhiyo. Okay, thank you, Sukhiyo too. Thank you.